Okay, now, want to talk about Love is Blind. All right, I watched this show. I love this show. I've watched every season. I love the show. My aunt even sent me a link for when they were casting in my area, but I would not want to. I watch enough reality TV to know that I just don't want to date on TV. I'll do anything else on TV almost, but dating, I'm good. Because, some things I'm going to get into in this video that when you go on shows like this, you have no control over some of these things, but you have to know that, they're happening. And as viewers, we never really think about some of the things that I'm going to talk about. And once you think about it and put it into context of some of the shows that you're watching, it makes a world of difference, because you will realize, obviously, television is television, right? It's hooked up for the viewer. And so the viewing experience. So that doesn't mean that it's true. That doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that it's for entertainment. But a lot of the funniest shit or most entertaining shit is based in reality. So that's kind of why I think reality TV is very popular. I love reality TV. But as I go on to watch year after year, I learn so much more, and it makes me look at the shows that I'm watching differently, right? So we're going to get into Love is Blind, and then I'll get into some of the things that happen when they're casting for a lot of these reality shows. And it was funny because I wrote down my notes for this video, and when I watched the reunion for Love is Blind, Nick Lachey and Vanessa Lachey were addressing some of the things that I'm going to point out. They were making it a big point. Well, they didn't address any of the things that I'm going to say specifically, but they made a big point to stress that they don't want people to come on there for, fame or ulterior motives, or with ulterior motives. So I thought that was interesting. I thought it was interesting just off of the simple fact that, none of the other shows have really stressed that like they stressed it. So anyway, let's get into this, because, Love is Blind, for those of you that don't watch it, it is a show where they put together a group of singles. They meet in these pods, right? These pods, they can't see each other. They only get to know each other through these dates and each other's voice, the questions and conversations that they can have. All right, and so it's a 10-day process, or a 10-day, 2-week process, which means that they have to go on all these dates within this 10 days, all right, to find out if they can meet somebody that will either propose to them or if they're going to be the one proposing, right? So once someone accepts a proposal, they get to meet each other in person the next day, see each other for the first time. Then they go off to live together for 3 weeks, and then they get married that 4th week. During the time that they are living together, they do get to go on a honeymoon where they meet the other couples. There's even a portion of the show where they get to meet the other singles that they had dated in the pause but didn't pick. All right, so you can see it's a setup for so much drama. In past seasons of Love is Blind, people have been accused of going on the show while they're already in relationships. There was something like that happened this season. Well, a couple of people did that this season. There's a whole bunch of stuff that comes out of these things, okay? So at the altar, anything can happen. In that 4th week when they're about to get married, even though they have been living together, like they've gotten to see how it is to be with each other 24/7. They've met families and they've met friends. And then, even though they're talking, each person reserves the right to say no or yes once they get to that altar, which is the crazy part, because although they signed up knowing that they have to get married within 4 weeks, if they choose somebody or accept a proposal, you never know what mindset a person is going to be on that day, okay? That's why I say I watch these shows for many reasons, but the most fascinating reason why I watch it is because the choices people make or don't make have everything to do with their mindset, how they see themselves, right? How they view relationships, and it's going to be different for everybody. So you get all these different people together, and what's playing out is a result of different mindsets. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. But anyway, that's not it though, because as the show is airing, right, a lot of times, I'm not sure what the case is for Love is Blind as far as how much of the show they get to see before, it starts airing. But in a lot of these shows, the cast doesn't even see the episodes in full before it airs or even before the reunion. Now, there are some shows where they get to see all of their stuff, right? Like the Kardashians, but I think they produce their own stuff. But any situation where there's, any situation where they filmed this show and the cast is unaware of how they're going to play it out, there's bound to be like some fallout. Okay. So, the basically we're watching a storyline that the producers and the network have put together based on the footage that they got. Yeah, there was some scripting as far as, I think before you do any project, you're going to have some sort of outline. So, of course, the network probably has some type of outline of how they want it to go. And then when they see the footage, then they figure out what's going to happen. And that also goes back to mindset too, because whoever is doing it, it all depends on who's looking at it to see what kind of angle they're going to come from. So with all that being said, there will be fallout every time. Okay. Like I said, we're seeing the storyline that the network put together with the footage, not necessarily what actually happened. All right. That's a big key point right there, because the first thing that the cast always says is that they got bad edits and this and that and the other. And some people will say, well, if you didn't give it to them, they wouldn't be able to use it. And that is true in most cases. But then, they can do anything with a look, a response to something here, but then they put that response down there. So editing is a big thing. Okay. But anyway, listen, it has to be entertaining to us viewers or we wouldn't be watching it. So, I love to see how everything plays out. But let's get into where we are now with Love is Blind. All right. They had the reunion last night. And I just want to talk about the reunion, because the reunion, the way they did it, I loved it. I love the fact that they brought in things that have happened on the internet and social media that was, that happened after they filmed the show. But they incorporated those questions into the reunion. And I think that actually made the reunion more enjoyable, because it really wasn't a high energy reunion. But because they were incorporating some of these things from social media, it made you want to keep on watching to see, what question might be asked, or are they going to address this, or are they going to address that? And so I think it was about an hour and a half. And almost everybody was there. Laura was not there because she was working in Spain, so she zoomed in, but she got a chance to get her stuff off her chest. And Jeramy, oh my God, Jeramy, okay? Jeramy is like, I don't know if y'all watched the Risa Tisa TikTok story thing or whatever, but when they revealed the guy that Risa Tisa was talking about how he was a liar and stuff like that, when they revealed him, his face looked like a lying face to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just prejudging him, but he looked like a liar. Jeramy has the lying face, okay? Jeramy is not a good liar, and he still refuses not to lie. Like, he keeps lying, and he can't get himself out of it. It was just ridiculous to watch, and I hope that he watches it back and realize how wild he looked on TV, okay? Because, that's why I always say it's just easier to go ahead and just be honest and just get it over with. Speaking of that, Trevor was one of the ones that had a girlfriend while he was trying to film this show, okay? Even telling her he loved her and he was going to marry her when he got off the show. I don't know why they think that these things won't come out. It is 2024, and the internet is still undefeated, okay? Since the year that it came out, the internet has always been undefeated. So, I don't know why something like a relationship, like, what are you doing? Somebody's going to find out about it. But Trevor was also visually just bothered, okay? They brought him out about a half hour into the show. He came out. He didn't know how to answer any questions. He didn't really want to. He got so uncomfortable that he asked to leave the stage, okay? but they didn't let him leave the stage until they until they got to tell him about himself. All right, because that's the moment that they use to talk about they don't want people coming on with ulterior motives. But we're gonna get into that. Okay. The couples that came out of the season. All right, let's just look at the couples that came out of the season. We had Kenneth and Brittany, Laura and Jeramy. We had Clay and AD. This is my favorite. All right, I had a bunch to say about Clay and AD, but this is my favorite. All right, Jimmy and Chelsea, and Johnny and Amy. Now, out of those 5 couples, Johnny and Amy were really the only couple that you could actually see that this shit might work. All right, you could see that in there, in my opinion, for them. Jimmy and Chelsea. Okay, at first I was thinking Chelsea should have picked Trevor. But after all that stuff came out with Trevor, I guess she did make the better decision. But Jimmy and Chelsea's like dynamic was just so toxic to me. Okay, so there were 3 couples out of the 5 that did not make it to the altar. Kenneth and Brittany, Laura and Jeramy, and Jimmy and Chelsea. All right. Clay and AD made it down the aisle, but Clay made this game time decision that was crazy. All right. He decided that he could not do it. Now, at first, when I first met Clay on this show, I don't know him in real life, but when they first introduced him or whatever, after a couple of interactions, I was like, okay, he's jittery, he might be nervous, I don't know. But the vibes I was getting from Clay was that there was something that just wasn't sitting right with him inside, and he just didn't know how to work it out. His body language was just always a little bit anxious to me, or whatever, kind of like, you know, he just couldn't focus. You know what I mean? And I think that he couldn't focus because he was thinking about his mom and dad situation or whatever. And his father should be ashamed of himself for taking his son with him on his little thought outings. Like, what in the world was he doing? And then he still has not really apologized. But I thought that Clay's mother was everything. Okay, she was everything. She was poised, she was real, she was down to earth. I really am glad they showed that part. All right, also I want to talk about how AD handled Clay's game time decision. All right, she handled that with so much poise and grace. She could have cussed him out, she could have went off, she could have whatever, but this thing is being recorded and is gonna air to the world, and she kept her composure. She poise and grace. That's all I gotta say. And then the moment when she turned around and looked at her family like, y'all ready? No words were spoken. It was just like, all right, we ready to go. And the way they filmed her walking out, like, yes, she did that. She did the damn thing, and she looks great. All right, gotta give it to her on that. But they might still be together. They might still be together. Even after watching the reunion last night, they might still be together. All right. I really want to get into this reunion because I like the way they did the reunion. They did the reunion on the set of Love is Blind, which was interesting because they'd never done that before, but it really worked. They were able to show some of the videos and playbacks on the little doors that they walk out to reveal themselves. I thought that was I thought this reunion was good. Y'all get in the comments below and let me know what you thought about the reunion. So they had some special guests for this reunion. It was some of the past couples, and they did also say that out of this 6 seasons, Love is Blind has 11 couples, 9 of which are still together. Okay, so they flexed a little bit on the other reality shows. I don't know what the metrics are on the other reality shows as far as what couples, how many couples they had come out and how many are still together, but I know Ready to Love don't have that many. Plus Ready to Love has more seasons, so their track record is not touching Love is Blind. All right, and then, you know, Nick Lachey and Vanessa also have the ultimatum, and in the ultimatum they pick like 5 couples, and in that 5 couples, the couples are able to find somebody else, you know, with the partner swap that matches them. So I kind of feel like, I've said this before, whatever they're doing to check compatibility is better than whatever Ready to Love is doing and some of these other shows. So I feel like they need to holler at them about that, because, you know, at the end of the day, like, they have way more compatibility on these shows than Ready to Love does. So I have to wonder, what is Ready to Love's focus point when they're picking people, because it can't be the same, you know. So But they had some special people come. So they had Chelsea and Kwame, Brett and Tiffany were there, Colleen and Matt, Alexa and Brennan, Izzy was there. It was a lot of people from past shows there with them as well. The two dresses that stood out to me was Amy's dress and AD's dress. Okay, definitely they did that. Another thing I want to point out about Love is Blind is that they filmed this show, I guess, a year ago, right? And so they don't have the reunion until a year later, which I feel like that is, I feel like that's better. You get more information, you know, you get to see how things play out and things like that. So when you do the reunion right after, it kind of, I mean, it's just more of the same, really, because there's not that much time that's passed. So I guess in order for them to do something like that, because no, we wouldn't wait a year until after we saw the last part. What they would do is they would film it in advance, and then they wouldn't start airing it until they were getting closer to the point where they would film the reunion. I feel like Love is Blind needs, I'm sorry, not Love is Blind, Ready to Love needs to think about that. But anyway, so Sarah Ann comes out and reveals that she's with Jeramy. Chelsea knows everybody's business. She popped out and said that every time she's seen Jeramy, he was broken up with Sarah Ann. Sarah Ann is not getting any love on this stage, okay? They are holding her accountable, which is wild because I really feel like you're the only person that can hold yourself accountable. Somebody else can suggest it, but you still have to actually hold yourself accountable. But that's neither here nor there. Sarah and Jeramy looked crazy. Okay, that's just it for me. Her and Jeramy kept the same story about not doing anything that night. But Jeramy, come on, like, are you supposed to be telling the truth about this, but you lied about everything else? Like, come on, stop it. Laura called Sarah Ann a pick-me. Sarah Ann got heated. They had a little bit of back and forth. But somebody pointed out that, you know, this was Laura and Jeramy's real life. And so it's like, not that it wasn't Sarah Ann's real life, but she did come into the reunion acting like she had all this, you know, rah-rah, when really you shouldn't have any rah-rah because, like, she basically came in and took that man. In the conversation of, in one of the things that Laura said, she mentioned that Jeramy said that he didn't want to be looking worse than Jimmy. And so Jimmy confronted him about that as well, right there on the stage. It came out that none of the ladies talked to Sarah Ann. Chelsea said that that's because Sarah Ann unfollowed all the women but kept following their fiancés. Chelsea was messy, okay? But Sarah Ann said she got iced out of the group chat, and Jessica said that she's the one that put her out. So apparently, Sarah Ann went on IG and did a video saying, you know, it's all about entertainment, blah, blah, blah. We didn't miss with this one, baby. We didn't miss. And so they pulled that video up, and they asked her what she meant about that. What was she doing? You know what I mean? Because basically, she was trying to say that they were acting. Was she trying to say that? She said she did it because she received a ton of hate. But they you know, basically that means that people are questioning the validity of this relationship. Like, are they just doing it for TV? But they say they live together now, so I don't know. But Vanessa used that moment to try and make a point that this wasn't for entertainment, which is what I was going to talk about. Because in a minute, I'm going to talk about some of the things that they do to get these people on the show, right? And how we're all being manipulated, the cast and the viewers. And I don't know if this was a part of the manipulation as well, but, you know, like I said, Vanessa Lachey said that they didn't want to do this for entertainment. And I'm going to get into what Nick Lachey said to follow that up in a minute. But Laura is also dating someone new. She apologized about the bean dip comment. Now, I didn't even know what bean dip was. What was the bean dip comment? Like, I heard it, but I had to go look it up. And when I looked it up, I was like, oh, okay. Somebody was trying to get slapped, okay? If you didn't look it up, you need to go look it up on Urban Dictionary and see what it is, okay? So then, like I said, they brought Trevor out, and this was so uncomfortable to watch. It was really cringy, right? I didn't feel bad for him, but I was just like, imagine being on national TV for lying. Like, I don't even know how he thought that was gonna be kept a secret, but they discussed some screenshots that he sent of text that he sent to the person that he was with at the time of the show. They pulled the text up and they read them. Trevor. How embarrassing, bruh. How embarrassing. But basically, he had a girlfriend the same time he was filming the show. All right. But this is why I like the fact that they added in social media. I think Bravo did this a couple years ago too. But this one was this they pulled up the actual text. Okay. He was silent for a minute. Like, I don't know how long he was really silent on that stage, but it was awkward watching it on TV. So I was just like, man. He said he did the show because he wanted to find somebody outside of his norm, but then he was like, he needs therapy. He didn't know why he did it. He was an emotional wreck when he left. He asked to leave the stage. Like, it just was not, I mean, the only thing left for him to do was to shit himself because he looked so uncomfortable out there, okay? But this is the point where Nick Lachey comes in and he says that they don't want people to come on their show motivated by fame, right? They don't want nobody to come with ulterior motives because you will be called out. All right, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. They did call Trevor out, but we're gonna see. He was dismissed after that. But it was just like so awkward to watch. But anyway, now Clay and AD, right? AD said they didn't speak for weeks. They both look so good together. They look like a beautiful couple, okay? And I know that really doesn't have anything to do with compatibility, but they look good together, all right? Clay, this is what I like about Clay. He was honest, okay? He said that he looked like the biggest dick watching it back. He felt bad because he was brokenhearted because he broke AD's heart. That's exactly how he should feel about this situation because he knows at the end of the day, he should not have waited till the last minute to go up there and give her the answer. He should have had his deadline to have his answer before all of the family got there and all of that. Like, yeah, it was for a TV show, but like, come on, like, you gonna get me on TV and then say no? Like, get me up to the altar and then say no? Like, I'm gonna need you to have, you know, some pre-prepared thoughts before we get, no. So AD was visibly bothered. Okay, you could tell she wanted to probably like just have her arm slap over there to Clay's face or whatever. But he talked about how he realized he made a mistake. He said he loved her and he apologized again. AD said she knew that he didn't want to get married. Clay got emotional. He says he knows he didn't put in the work at first, but he says he's putting in the work now. He's gone to therapy and things like that. And he realizes, you know, the error in his ways. And then AD went on to talk about Clay's mother and the situation, and she said she didn't want to end up being Clay's mom. You know what I mean? And so if you watch the show, you understand what she's talking about. There was also a moment that I really wanted to recognize, and it was the moment where Clay talked about how much admiration he had for Brett from season 4. Now, if y'all don't remember Brett from season 4, this is Brett. And he ended up being with Tiffany. I also liked Brett from that season. And yes, Brett was a good example. But it was a moment for Clay to say that he admired Brett because of how he, you know, portrayed himself. And he was like, that's how a husband should act, right? And Brett is interesting when stuff like this happens because he was giving Brett props, right? But Brett got emotional because of the situation of getting the props. Of course, he doesn't think he's perfect. Of course, he has his own struggles. He had his doubts and stuff like that. He was able to share that with Clay. And I feel like that was a necessary moment, especially for Clay. Okay. I feel like that moment was everything. All right. Two brothers talking, sharing their feelings, admiration, and not being afraid to be emotional about it. That joke was touching to me. I don't know. Get down in the comments below. That was one of my favorite parts, okay? I feel like they should adapt it out, though. That was the only thing I feel like was missing. I feel like Brett should have got up and walked over there, because if he would have did that, Clay would have got up, and then they would have adapted out, and it would have been even more, you know, touching moment. But, you know, that is what we want to see. Yes. Anyway, they called out Chelsea for her Megan Fox comparison, which I don't even know why she said that, but she didn't say that she thought that. She did say that people said that. And when you see her, when she's all done up and stuff like that, I can see it in the eyes part. I can see it. If you watch season 4, Zach and Bliss got a baby on the way. Alex and Brennan are also 5 months pregnant. Kenneth and Brittany are not together. Now, I didn't talk about Kenneth and Brittany. Kenneth and Brittany are not together. They did not make it to the altar because they didn't have that crave for each other. And somebody had asked the question of why didn't she just like have sex with him to see if the crave came, and she answered that question very well. She was like, I shouldn't need to do that to see if it comes. It should already be here or whatever. So, but they did say that they talk every day. And they're really good friends, and so they're not together, but they think that they're bonded for life or whatever. So kudos to them, you know, for not making a decision just because they felt like they should have. Matthew didn't show up. Now, I thought Matthew had some anger issues, so I was interested to see what his thoughts were, you know, a year later, but he did not show up. But AD actually revealed that she went on a couple of dates with Matt, and she thought that Matt was cute, but she realized that their lifestyles were way too different, and so she just let it fizzle out off of that second date. Chelsea and Kwame are doing good. Chelsea actually, not the Chelsea from this season, but the Chelsea from season 4, she actually helps with casting for Love is Blind now. So that is one of the reasons why, you know, okay, yeah, people come on shows for different reasons, right? And this show happens to be one about love. Now, somebody could come on a show and trying to find love, but other things can happen because of that, because it all goes back to mindset. I'm trying to tell you, how your mind is set up when you go into a situation has everything to do with how it plays out, the opportunities you get, the people you meet, all of that, right? And so in this situation, she really went in to try to find love. She found love with Kwame, and then she even found a job. Now she works with Love is Blind. Kudos to her. Shout out to you, Chelsea. Then, you know, Nick Lachey and Vanessa Lachey have a few shows. Like I said, they have The Ultimatum, they have This Love is Blind, and they also have a show called Perfect Match. Now, I have not watched Perfect Match, but the premise for Perfect Match is that they take contestants that were on other Netflix series to compete on this show, okay? They pair up and compete in challenges to form relationships. The most compatible couples play matchmaker. They can break up other couples and send them on dates with brand new singles that they invite just for the people that are there to come back to the villa. So this show seems messy. I'm going to have to take a look at it. But I say that because I say that because Micah and Izzy will be on the next season of Perfect Match, and Jessica from this season will be on the Perfect Match as well, okay? And it's only one season of that. This is going to be season 2, so check that out if you haven't already. I'm going to check it out, and if it's good, then I might come back and talk about it. But Izzy also said that he fixed his credit, okay? And I just want to point out that that was a year ago. So if you got credit issues, get on your shit. Even if you don't got credit issues, let's see what we can do in a year. All right. Okay. So now let's really talk about the casting and how they get these people on the show, right? Because I feel like the one thing that everybody who joins any reality TV show is going to get is public scrutiny. All right. Couple that along with the fact that a lot of them have no idea how they will be portrayed on these shows. So that's already a setup for the unknown, all right? And we as viewers are watching what the network put together and making our own opinions and judgments off of the episodes that we see. The cast obviously feels, you know, some type of way when people are talking about the things that we see, but I feel like the anger is misplaced because the network is manipulating us all, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about some things that brought me, well, you know, obviously it's not hard to come to that conclusion, but I like to have specific reasons as to why I'm saying stuff. So I'm going to give you some of the information that I looked up, and you just make your own choice and tell me what you think. Get in the comments below and let me know, because they use a lot of tactics to manipulate the cast and produce these lovely shows that we like to watch, okay? Because it's all for entertainment purposes at the end of the day. Like, that's the the one thing we have to remember. We wouldn't want to watch something if it wasn't interesting. And so when it's not interesting, I'm pretty sure they have to, do things to make sure that the viewers will keep watching the show. But one of the things that they do is they sometimes will do selective casting. Now, I know a lot of people have probably seen those casting call posts whenever Ready to Love is about to come on, and they're asking for specific traits, right? Specific things in a person. I'm not sure if the other shows do casting posts, but they definitely, they will go to people who are bound to generate some conflict and drama. Like, if you have this person on the show, you're going to get that conflict and drama. That's selective casting. They're not really genuine about compatibility. They make them take these tests, and the people who are taking the tests and the things that they make them go through, they think, oh, they're searching for my perfect mate. A lot of times they're doing that so that they know which personalities will go good together, which personalities won't go good together. And I think that some shows focus on the people who will bump heads versus the people who will get along. People with controversial viewpoints, like those people, whoever goes to one extreme of a thing, right? Those people will definitely bump heads with somebody when they are in these types of situations. So, but then once they get the people on the show, right, they have other tactics that they put in place to get reactions out of people and to trigger certain people. Now, will everybody be triggered? No. Some people are just go with the flow people, but the people that they pick, they know that certain things are going to trigger certain things. For one, isolation, right? These people don't get to have their phone. They have limited communication with the outside world, right? And so a lot of times that encourages them to depend on each other, the people who are in the situation with them. Makes them more it creates a little bit more vulnerability amongst the group. Limited resources, okay? A lot of times if you're watching these shows, when you see the interviews post-show, the cast will tell you that there wasn't much food, or all they had was alcohol, or we had to wait this time to eat, or, whatever the case may be. By restricting access to food and other comforts that people, are used to having, or you feel like you should have in situations like this, that increases tension, which leads to conflict amongst the cast, and the cameras are right there to pick it up, okay? It could also push people to act in ways that they may not otherwise act, okay? Like strategizing or forming alliances and stuff like that. They put these people in a controlled environment. When I say controlled, I mean maybe they only are supposed to be in this space. Maybe they can't get into this door right now, and maybe they don't have to, these people are in here talking, so they gotta wait. Controlling the access kind of makes the person feel confined, powerless, or even trapped, depending on what you've been through. But these people have already done the background test on people, so they already know who's likely to get triggered by the things that they're doing that, people probably aren't even thinking about. That can lead to them feeling trapped and allowing themselves to be manipulated and doing things they don't want to do, like repeating a question several times when the person already told you they don't want to answer it, or going to talk to somebody that you wouldn't normally tell your business to. The list goes on. So then for us, it's the editing. They're manipulating us by the editing, because we're forming our perceptions and views based on the actions and interactions and words and conversations that we hear from these people on the episode. The producers choose certain moments in conversations to highlight because it fits their storyline. Like I said, a lot of times you might hear somebody say something, but there's no guarantee that they said it at the point that they said it, or that they even said it when they were talking about the subject that's being spoken on currently, right? So you never know. While we want to see connections, like real connections, we have to realize that the production process is often scripted, and it involves some manipulation to create compelling TV. They're not only manipulating us, but they're manipulating the cast too. I don't know. Do you disagree? Do you agree? I don't know. What do you think? Because I watch, a lot of shows. I watch the interviews and things like that. And a lot of these cast members, from these various shows leave in emotional distress. They leave with PTSD, experiencing anxiety, depression, trust issues, and I'm sure there's a whole other slew of like things that people feel after being on this show and being, you know, a part of these processes. I mean, just from the public scrutiny alone, you know, it's an intense environment. It's an intense environment. They manipulate the relationships. Like, you know, once you start making something a competition and people start to feel like, oh, they could be the one to be eliminated, like people start feeling like they need to fake relationships or force relationships that they may not otherwise be in, you know, regardless, just for the sake of staying on the show, which is the reason why a lot of the couples don't last. And the public scrutiny, okay? The public scrutiny is a big one because it all goes back to mindset and how you see yourself. How do you feel about yourself? Because if a whole bunch of people, strangers on the internet talking about you, is triggering and bothering you, like that's bound to cause some issues as well. We're talking about mental issues here, and a lot of the things that are discussed and revealed and things like that could also affect some of these people in their professional life, depending on what it is. Yeah, public scrutiny is a big one because, you know, while you may think you're a great person and you might be funny, you might be this, you might think you're that or whatever, when you go on TV, one thing that happens is all of your flaws are magnified. And it's not that they're magnified to everybody else, they're magnified to you. So you already feel some type of way about the things that people are saying. Somebody may have said it to you somewhere in another part of your life, and they're just in a fight mode a lot of times, you know, in as far as like the backlash they get from responding to public scrutiny. And another thing that I can see happening with people being on shows like this is that they would end up leaving with trust issues. They might even question the authenticity of the relationships that they've gotten in from the show. Or they could have difficulty even like forming genuine connections with others. I could just see that it could be a big clusterfuck when it comes to that, because you could go into a space where you like, I don't know what's real, because a lot of stuff is for TV. So some of the shows, you know, I think that Nick Lachey and Vanessa wanted to portray last night that they have the cast well-being at the forefront of their process. I'm pretty sure some of the cast can probably disagree with that, but I do have to give them kudos for addressing it and saying it. We'll just have to watch on to see if they enforce it, because they have had a lot of scandals as well. Even though they have some couples, they averaging almost 2 couples per season, it seems like, but they get married. But if they but they have had some other situations that were more serious too. So I feel like as a whole, reality TV, I do understand it's entertainment and stuff like that, but if you're going to be doing a show that is going to be about love, which is very personal to everybody, I feel like they need to have the cast well-being at the forefront of their minds. Like, some of these shows need you know, a medical professional, like a mental health professional, because you could be helping these people. Even if they didn't find relationships, you could be helping them identify their issues or work on some things. If you did add a therapist to some of these shows, you know, or provide therapy post-show, because a lot of things, when you're dealing with love, like that's, you know, that's very personal to a lot of people. And if something happens, you guys need to start providing, you know, like I said, post-show therapy. And I'm not just talking about one show. I'm talking about in general for reality TV when it comes to love shows. Because love is different than these challenges shows, right? Like if you got Big Brother and you got you know, the challenge shows, those are different because it's a physical thing. But when you're talking about love, I feel like that's more personable. That's more of something that's affecting your mental and how you feel about yourself and how you see yourself. So they need to be very careful when they're dealing with people when it comes to love, in my opinion. But That's just my 2 cents. All right. I hope this video was helpful. I'm still going to be watching Love is Blind. Obviously I'm still watching Ready to Love as well. I just wanted to come and talk about some things that people don't really talk about when it comes to these shows. Yes, the people are on the shows and now they're out here and they're being interviewed and they have things to say, but like really, really think about the fact that even though these people portray themselves on TV in one way, a lot of them are probably dealing with anxiety, trust issues, and a whole slew of other things that were exacerbated from being on these shows. I don't know. I think I just looked that up because I think I just looked more into that because I often find myself wondering why a person would do or say this. And, once I fell down that rabbit hole, I was just like, we don't know what actually happened in these shows. So it's best to enjoy the entertainment, but don't be surprised when you feel like you know what's going on because you watched the show and then you find out that you have no idea what you was talking about. Anyway, that's reality TV for you. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in another video. All right, me and my sister are doing Thursday Night Live this week, so definitely make sure that you're in the house Thursday at 7:30. Trending topics and probably reality TV stuff. Who knows how that's gonna go, but I will see y'all in another video. Peace.